Hey guys, today on COC we're going to try and diagnose a p1211 on an OBS Ford powerstroke. Alright, so here's a little background on my problem. Here lately we've been having a problem with a p1211, which says the ICP is above or below spec. And what would happen at first, and this has gotten worse over time, what happened at first was if I'd pull a trailer or go up a long grade, it'd be fine at first, then it would just lose power, just fall flat on its face, check engine light would come on, and after like another mile or two of driving it would go out, everything would be fine again until you hit another grade or needed to pass a car, then start it over again. Check engine light would come on, fall flat on its face. I just kind of put up with it for a while. So it's progressed, it's gotten worse. So now when the engine gets hot, it won't restart. I can spray some starter fluid in the turbo, it'll fire off and it'll run fine again until the next time you shut it off and it won't restart again. So like I said, this is getting worse and worse. It started with just a long crank, and now like I said, it won't start at all when it's hot. So I'm going to show you what I'm not a professional mechanic here. I mean, we're just enthusiasts here. We enjoy working on doing this kind of stuff, diagnosing. So I'm going to show you what I did. Whether it's right or wrong, we'll find out. But I bought a gauge set and some adapters, and we're going to see if we can figure out what's going on with this truck. So the truck's been sitting for about a week. I haven't driven it at all. As you can see, the temperature is about 32 degrees on the transmission. Let's see if we can do a cold start and see what happens here. So as you saw there, the ICP saw pretty good pressure on a cold start. It didn't take much to start it at all. But the problem comes when the engine gets warmed up, it won't restart. And so I'm gonna let this engine run for a little bit, get it up to operating temp. Then we'll repeat this test again when the engine's warmed up. All right, so we've been idling for about a half hour or so. And we'll show you what we got so far. So as you can see, the ICP is sensing a lot less pressure and the IPR is pretty high. So we'll go ahead and shut this off and we'll see what happens. So as you just saw there, once the engine gets up to temperature, it doesn't want to start because it doesn't see that magical number of 500 psi from the hpop. So I guess now what we're going to do is hook up a mechanical gauge to the engine itself and see if we can isolate where the problem is. Okay, so here's what we got going on so far. So the engine's still warm. What I did was I hooked up a 12 volt power supply to my IPR to make it closed. When I crank the engine, I'm just going to hook these up to the battery. So the next thing I did was I took one of the feed lines to the passenger side head, disconnected it and put a plug in it. That's where it would normally go. I did the same thing on the other side. That's where it would normally go, but I took the driver's side and I hooked it up to a gauge here. And I also hooked up a remote starter. So So now we're going to crank this over, see what our gauge says, because with this side blocked off and this side going directly to the gauge, the oil shouldn't have anywhere else to go. So we're going to be measuring the pressure out of the pump itself. So I went through and looked at all the fittings on my gauge set, all the adapters I used, just to make sure that everything was tight and I didn't have any leaks that were going to throw off my results. I didn't find any. So what we did here was pretty well deadhead the pump. We made it to where the oil could not go anywhere else but inside the gauge, and we got less than 500 psi. It kind of matched what the Torque Pro app was telling me. So for whatever reason, it seems like when the oil's maybe a little thicker when it's colder, it has enough pressure to start the truck. Then once the engine, once the heat gets to the oil, thins it out, whatever happens inside the hpop, I don't know, but it doesn't seem to build enough pressure to start the truck after the truck's warm. By deadheading the pump, we should have eliminated like injectors, anything inside the head that could have gone wrong. So I can't imagine anything else being wrong here but the hpop, but I think I have enough evidence to go ahead and spend the money to go and replace the hpop, and we'll see what happens. So if you want to see that, subscribe and stay tuned.